Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week we're going to talk about something especially that's going to be interesting for the folks in our audience, which it's the predominance of them that are entrepreneurs, business owners. And that is a couple of different things. So first of all, our guest this week has written a book that you'll be interested in called Exit Without Exiting. And then we're also going to talk later in the show about some tips that he has, and you're going to hear why he has these tips because of his amazing experience and his journey that he's had. And we'll get into that in a minute here, but on how to really, this sounds completely counterintuitive to most people, and that's why I wanted to have him on, is how to scale your business while also stepping back from the day-to-day operations. And most entrepreneurs out there are scratching their head right now, like, wait a minute, I thought I'd have to be more involved, and I'm gonna have to work 80-hour weeks instead of 70-hour weeks if I'm trying to scale, et cetera. And that's why this show is gonna be so great today. Our guest today is the real Jason Duncan. He took an unconventional path to becoming one of the few leaders who has turned entrepreneurial freedom into a proven system. He started as a pastor and school teacher, but after founding 13 companies and navigating both triumphs and failures, including exiting 4 businesses, he discovered what most entrepreneurs miss. Real success comes from building systems that allow your business to thrive without you being trapped in it. Also helps you exit it very well, which I'm sure we'll get into. Today, Jason is the founder of the Exiter Club, a premier mastermind and coaching program that helps entrepreneurs escape the grind, scale their businesses, and reclaim their freedom. Using his proprietary XOS method and exit without exiting strategy, he and his network of experts guide business owners to break free from daily operations, achieve exponential growth, and focus on what matters most, family passions and building their dream life. Clients who follow Jason's method can expect to reduce their work hours by 30%, boost team productivity by 80%, and increase business value by 30% within a year. I'm a numbers nerd, and I love those numbers. Jason, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. So, gosh, where do we even start? I want to start with your journey because obviously with 13 companies, and as you mentioned, and I mentioned in the intro, I'm sure you had some great successes and probably some challenges in there too. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got to where you're at now.
Well, you mentioned that I started as a pastor and school teacher. And so the first 13 years of my adult career life was in pastoral ministry. And honestly, I didn't have any other aspirations outside of that. I didn't think I was going to ever do anything different until I got tired of it. I just couldn't do it anymore. And for those that are listening who also follow Jesus and are part of church systems here in the United States, you may have seen what I saw, but once you get behind the curtain, it's a little bit different, at least where I was serving. And so I said, you know what? I don't think this matches what we're teaching here. So I can't do this anymore. So that was my personal journey out of the institutional church as a vocational pastor. Didn't change my faith. It just changed how I wanted to exercise it and how I wanted to live it out. So I had to decide, well, what am I going to do next? And I knew I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I was really good as a teacher. So I thought, well, let me go get my degree in education. So I went and got a degree in education, became a school teacher, and again, had no aspirations to ever change. I thought I would be in that forever until I didn't get tired of it. But the Great Recession said, we got other ideas. So coming out of the Great Recession, it was in 2011. My principal came to me and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to renew your contract. I've got to cut teaching positions across the board. And I didn't have tenure. I was the last guy hired in that building. That's how they made the decision. Now, long story short, I ended up starting a company. Now, that wasn't the plan right out of the gate. It's like, oh, no problem, principal. I'll go start a business and be an entrepreneur. No, but that's what I ended up doing. And as a result, I built a multi-million-dollar business, became a millionaire, learned a lot of cool things, started a bunch of other businesses, as you referenced in the opening, the bio there. But that's what led me ultimately to be who I am today as a coach, because I led that company that I started for 13 years before I exited that. And now I'm doing what I do is I coach other people to set up businesses in a way that doesn't run them and that they can exit profitably from.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think, even with what I do, as a fractional CFO, business strategist, working with owners, and a lot of the owners that I work with that are saying, hey, I always talk about, what's your goal in 10 years, what's your goal in 5 years, because, I want to make sure that the decisions we're making now are congruent, with those 5-year and 10-year goals, which sounds obvious, but sometimes they're not. Sometimes short-term decisions can be like really great in the short term, but don't really fit the long term. And one of those things, and it sounds like that's what you stumbled upon with your book, Exit Without Exiting, and we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but is you can build a business as an entrepreneur, but if you are the heart and soul of the business, and then you say, hey, let me sell this thing, no one wants to buy it because it's not as valuable, because once you extract yourself from it, the value is a significant portion of the value is gone. And I'm guessing that's kind of what, led you down this path as well.
Yeah. Well, that's what I found out. I had a business coach I was working with in 2017, 18, and 19. And his name was BJ. And when BJ and I were talking about the company that I had started back in 2010, 2011, we had a 7-figure bottom line. We were doing great. Things were good. I said, I don't want to do this anymore. Why don't we sell the company? And he took a look at it, and he took a look at me, and he's like, you can't. And I said, what do you mean I can't? I mean, it's a 7-figure bottom line. How do we not sell this thing? Somebody will buy it. He goes, the reason you don't want to run it is the same reason nobody will want to buy it, because the business revolved around me. Now, that's not to say I didn't have good teams. It's not to say I didn't have good employees. It's not to say I didn't even have some good systems put in place, but everything still relied on me. So in my XOS system that I've since discovered and built after leaving the world of running that company, it shows that there are 3 tiers of entrepreneurship. There's tier 1, which is owner operator, and that's where 95, maybe more percent of entrepreneurs never leave. They're owner operators. And at that time, I wasn't an owner operator of the business. I had moved into tier 2. I was an owner manager. Now, an owner manager doesn't do everything himself or herself, but everything still relies upon them. It still goes through them. Now, I might not have to be there every single day, but the buck stops with me. And then the owner managers can graduate into what we call tier 3, which is owner investor. And an owner investor operates their business as an investment, not as an activity that they have to do every day. And they're focused on the asset, not the activity, where the owner operator is focused on the activity and revenue. That's it. And somewhere in between, the manager starts learning, okay, I gotta do this differently. Well, I was an owner manager, had a very good business, doing good revenue, good bottom line, and couldn't sell it. And that's when I started on the discovery journey of, how do I get out of this business without having to be in it every day, without selling it? And that's when I discovered how to exit without exiting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, so like I said, I think a lot of people, until they get to that point, I was working with an owner. Gosh, this is pre-COVID, so I don't know, 5 years ago or so. And he had built this business from the time he was 18. He was late 40s. He had been running it for, at the time, like 28 years, I think. And he was looking to sell within 5 years. And he was the heart and soul of the business. And he was the knowledge base of the business. And I said, the same conversation that you had, Jason, is you can't. Like, if I wanted to buy your business and I'm not in your business, I don't have the 30 years of experience that you have. I can't step into your shoes. Even if I want to be an owner operator, I don't have the knowledge to do that. If I did, I have my own dang business in that particular industry. And so it was an eye opener for him. So we had to put together sort of strategy and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to hit a break here, guys, but we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more segue from that into his book, Jason's book, Exit Without Exiting.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show again, talking with the real Jason Duncan this week. You can find out more, and we'll put this in the show notes as well, but his website is therealjasonduncan.com. Also follow him on Instagram, LinkedIn, and check out his YouTube channel. And then also, you can also, through his website, you can find the Exeter Club that I mentioned during the outset. So Jason, you've gone through several different things. You started some businesses, pastor, school teacher, started some businesses, had some epiphanies in there, it sounds like. What led to writing this best-selling book, Exit Without Exiting?
So when I got out of the weeds of operating that company, and I really didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't have a specific plan, although I had a few. To use the term client would be a little bit more than it actually was. I had a few clients, people that I was coaching, that would come to me and ask for advice. And so in the process of exiting without selling the business, I was coaching some of these other folks, and I was really enjoying it. But I'm telling you, when I finally got out of the weeds of daily operations, when I didn't have to be there even a week at a time, it wasn't just once a day, once a week or whatever. I just didn't have to be there at all, really. I didn't know what to do with myself. Honestly, I went through an identity crisis, and I had another mentor coach that I was meeting with, and we met every week, and we would have lunch. And I just had to tell him, like, I don't know who I am. I carried this business card for over a decade that said president and CEO of this company. And now when I introduce myself, first of all, I don't have a business card, and I don't even know what I would say. Like, I still own the company. I still get paid, but I don't have a function other than just being the owner of the business. And so that identity crisis led me to understand who I am. And I discovered what I believe is my purpose and my unique gifts that I think God gave me, and that is of teaching and leadership. And I thought, well, how can I use this? And it just became natural to look at coaching, because I was already doing some of it. I certainly wasn't ever going to go back to the pastorate. I was never going to do that. I had toyed with the idea of going back to the classroom, but I thought, man, I don't think that's exercising this gift at its full capacity. So I decided I'm just going to start a coaching business. And of course, anybody who's ever started a business, especially in the coaching world, you have an idea of what you want to do starting out. That almost 100% of the time never actually happens.
Right.
That is not the thing that will make you money. I had this thing called Results University. I had 128 courses, and I was going to set up this online university for entrepreneurs. And that's what I started. I started with that, and then it went all haywire and didn't work, and I had to iterate till I found what I'm doing today. Well, through that process, one of the marketing companies I hired said, Jason, you need to put this in a book. You need to start telling people how to do what you did. And that's why and how I started writing the book.
Yeah. So I think we have authors on all the time, and it seems like there's always a very common theme, and it's something along the lines of what you're talking about, Jason, is, they're working with a marketer, they've got a coach, they've got something, and they're like, man, you got to put this into a book. You've got this knowledge. You've got to put your expertise out there so people can, see your expertise, and that becomes your business card, right? It's interesting you mentioned, even before that, though, the company had become somewhat of your own personal identity with, president, CEO, as you mentioned, with the business card. I hear this all the time about people when they exit business. I've got a close friend of mine, ran a business, very successful, et cetera, sold to his partner, and he went through the exact same thing you're talking about. I could hear his words as you were saying them, Jason, where he was like, he'd want to meet me for, usually we would get together for a breakfast once a month. And all of a sudden he wants to go, hey, let's go to breakfast. And then it'd be like, well, hey, at breakfast on Tuesday, he'd be like, hey, you free for lunch on Friday? Like, he's got all this free time. And he's like, same thing, the exact same thing you described. We were at a breakfast and someone walked up that I knew, and I went to introduce him. And I said, this is my friend Paul, et cetera, et cetera. I said, Paul, and Paul's like, yeah, hey, I'm and he kind of looked at me, and he looked at the guy I was introducing to, and he's like, I don't know what I am. Honestly, I don't know what I am at this point. He went through the same thing, and he took some iterations as well, and kind of shifted into the real estate game and all that kind of stuff. And he's pretty deep into that now, but I can absolutely relate to that of having to, kind of figure that out. That all being said, what in writing the book, what was the most difficult? I always like to ask this question because I've written a couple of books myself. And What is the most difficult part about writing the book for you, Jason?
Starting.
That's fair.
It was like, I want to write a book now. I am ready mentally, but well, I say maybe I've got the idea, but I haven't started. And that's the hardest part, because once you start, you're going to be all right. It's going to be fine. I tell people all the time, the pain of indecision is worse than the pain of a bad decision. And so right now I'm in indecision. Like, do I start it? Do I not do it? And it's painful. If I just started the book and wrote a crappy book, that would be less painful than what I'm living in now. So starting the book was the hardest part.
Yeah. I went through similar type situation with my third book. You know, I had this idea, I got it, it's all up here, I'm going to do it. And I procrastinated. If this makes you feel any better, I had committed publicly to a date that I was going to publish. I was speaking at a large event, and I wanted to have the book there to be able to sell the book, because I was talking about things that were going to be in the book. For whatever reason, I procrastinated for so dang long. I finally got to the point where, like, I have to get this done. I wrote this book in 30 days, from beginning to publish in 30 days, because I just didn't have a choice. I had to have this book done, and whatever. I was going to look like a fool up on stage talking about these things. I mean, I guess I could have said, "Oh, the book's coming out soon," but that's kind of a buzzkill, right? So it's like, I had to get this thing done. So the starting part, I completely relate to.
Yep, that's tough.
Yeah. So what's next? I mean, you've got the Exeter Club, I know. I want to get into, we've got about a couple minutes left here before we hit another break here, and I want to talk about, the scaling and getting out of the daily operations, some tips in this last segment. But, so what do you see next? Maybe it's a loaded question, because it sounds like from pastor, you didn't know, you became a school teacher, you didn't know, became an entrepreneur. Maybe you're still in that mode.
I'm done chasing opportunities. And I think that's the cool part about where I am in life right now, is that for most of my entrepreneurial career, it was about chasing opportunities. It's like, what could I make money on next? What's the next big opportunity? I was always looking. Now, I had one anchor business that was leading me, but that's why I started so many other businesses, most of which failed or didn't work, because I was chasing opportunities. Well, in July last year, I made a decision. I was no longer going to chase opportunities. I was going to double down and focus on the Exeter Club as a mastermind. And that is all I'm going to put my energy until I hit a certain number of dollar in recurring revenue, which I haven't hit yet, but there's a dollar amount that I want to hit. I haven't hit that yet. And I said, I won't do anything else until that happens. So I've turned down opportunities. I actually, at the time that I made that decision, I had an LOI. I'd already signed to purchase another business. And the owner of that business kept hemming and hawing around about my offer. And when I made the decision, I just sent him an email and said, "Hey, look, here's the deal. If you don't accept my offer as is, no changes, no negotiations by the 31st of July, I'm walking. And this is not a threat. This is a promise, because I've got to move on." And he didn't get back to me. It took him, he was mid-August before he got back to me. But for me, that was the sign. And so I didn't do it. I had another friend who reached out to me and had a great business opportunity that would have made a lot of money. And I just had to be frank with him. Said, "Look, I want to do this, but I'm not going to do it yet." So for me, what's next is I'm doubling down I'm continuing. We tripled in membership last year. I want to double in membership this year. And when that happens, then I'll start looking at opportunities again.
I like it. Well, congrats on that success. That's amazing. I would assume, you're talking about chasing opportunities and everything, the number, and I don't have the stats, I'm sure you do, but the number of baby boomers exiting their businesses, or going to be exiting their businesses over the next 5 to 10 years, it's huge. I mean, you're in a sweet spot for sure. I'm excited to hear about your growth. Guys, we're gonna hit another break here. Again, talking with the real Jason Duncan, therealjasonduncan.com. Follow him on Instagram, LinkedIn, and check out his YouTube page.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. And by the way, I was derelict in my duties of mentioning this. I say it slightly tongue-in-cheek, but also with some seriousness. Those that are listening, right? If you're listening to this on a podcast or whatever, this is not just a plug to go out to our YouTube channel and check this out. But producer Alan and I both, when we came on before we started the show, producer Alan said it first, but I was thinking the same thing. Jason looks like a doppelganger for Ryan Reynolds. So especially if you're a female and you like Ryan Reynolds, you might want to go out and check out, the YouTube channel. And if you're curious and you think that producer Alan and I might be crazy, go out and check it out. But yeah, he definitely looks like Ryan Reynolds. I'm going to ask him about his next set of movies as well. I thought that's what I was trying to set him up to promote his next movie because I forgot that he wasn't actually Ryan Reynolds. So Ryan, tell us about, we've talked about all these things, and I don't want you to give away all the secret sauce, so to speak, but give us some tips that are some practical things that maybe our viewers, our listeners can use as they're trying to scale the business and while stepping back, while, again, I think sounds counterintuitive to most folks that don't have that strategic vision that you had to develop the XOS system.
Well, I believe that you've already kind of alluded to this at one point during our conversation, is that businesses are worth a lot less when the owner is the operator. And that is a mindset shift that you've got to make. Is you have to understand that while you are better at it than everybody, while you have done this longer than everybody, and you probably are smarter than everybody, you're certainly more well-funded than everybody that works for you. While that's all true, that is also the thing that's going to hold you back from building a business that's worth anything. Now, if you want a job for the rest of your life and you want to be an owner operator and you want to be your own employee, more power to you. If you want to keep scooping ice cream until you die, that's great. But if you want to build something that is bigger than you, that will be worth something even when you're not there, you have to have a mindset shift to understand that your business is going to be worth more to everybody involved if you're not involved. I think it's very selfish, really, if you think about it, for an owner operator who at least has been told this information and they continue in it, because you are putting your entire company at risk. Because if you get hit by a bus or you get sick, if something happens to you and you're not there, everybody doesn't get paid. The business shuts down. And that's not what you want. I know you don't want that, but that's what you're doing in effect. So I think there's a mindset shift that's got to happen. And honestly, most of the guys that come work with me in the Exeter Club, they've had that revelation. They realize, holy crap, I can't keep working 50, 60 hours a week and expect to live the life that I want, because I'm just digging a hole. It's not going to get any bigger. It might have more zeros in it, but it's still a hole.
Right. And I think, again, from my experience, and not nearly as extensive as yours in this space, but I think it takes guys, girls getting far enough along as business owners to where they've had some success. They've been running the business for, let's say, 20 plus years. And now all of a sudden they're in their, 50s, let's say. And they're like, hey, man, I want to start going on vacation more. Or I want to buy an RV and go do this or go do that. Or maybe they're a little bit older. They've got kids and their kids are having grandkids and they want to spend time with their grandkids. And they're like, yeah, I'm working 60 hours a week, man. I don't really have time to do that. And coming to that realization, like, I don't want to do that. I want to enjoy some of the fruits of the labor of the last 20 plus years of building this business, et cetera.
A lot of people don't get to enjoy that. They just don't. And I will say this as an example, not because I want to brag, but when you get a business to run that doesn't require you to be there, some cool stuff starts happening. I was sick. I've been sick primarily almost all of the month of February, but there was a week and a half that I was literally in bed, couldn't move. It was pretty bad. When I came back to the office, so to speak, and messaged all my clients on our private chat and all the mastermind members is, hey, sorry, I've been kind of MIA this past week. I've been sick, very sick. I'm kind of on the mend. I'm coming back. And a couple of people said, we didn't know you were gone. Like, your team is doing such a good job. I have 5 coaches on the team. I have an assistant. I got an intern and an apprentice. So everybody ran everything without me being there. And so that's cool. So that happened. And I run a coaching business, for goodness sake. Like this is a personality driven business for most people, but I'm building a coaching business and a mastermind that will be worth something without me. I'm building a brand. The real Jason Duncan is a personal brand, but I'm building a brand in the Exeter Club that hopefully one day somebody else will come along and say, you know what? I don't want to start one from scratch. Let me just buy yours. Okay, that's fine. Because that's what you can start doing. Now, on the other side of things, is I'm building a business that I can take breaks from and it doesn't hurt. I have 32 days that I am scheduled to be on trips with my wife this year. Not all at once, but 32 days. I have 30 additional days that I'm scheduled to be on vacation on a motorcycle with my buddies, my friends, because I love to ride motorcycles. So that's 2 full months, if you think about it, that I'm going to be away from the business, yet it still runs. Now, that doesn't happen by accident. And maybe I could make another 100 grand a year if I didn't take all that time off. But why would I want to make an extra 100 if I'm not off riding a motorcycle or spending time with my wife? What's the extra 100 do for me?
Right.
I'd rather die broke, but have had a great life than to die with millions of dollars and not have done what I wanted to do.
Yeah. No, I love that. Yeah, for sure. I know you're a big systems guy, right? So what are the key systems, as an entrepreneur? I know it varies by business, things like that, but what have you found that you, at least on the surface at the macro level, look at business and say, hey, man, here are the top systems you need to have sort of working like a well-oiled machine in order to sort of pull this off?
Well, I think sales, if you're talking about specific systems, sales is probably the number one. I mean, acquiring dollars is your whole job as a business owner. That's it. I had a conversation this morning with my intern who's only been with me for a couple of months. And I told him, I said, look, your job as my intern is to wake up every day and go, how can we get Jason to have more income coming in? Not personally, but as a business. Right. How do we do that? Of course, personally, that'd be great too. But how do we do that? Because that's the way this works. We have clients who pay us a monthly fee to be a part of the mastermind. The more we have, the more money we have, the more that we can do. The less we have, and the opposite. That's the whole game. So sales, marketing, that's probably one. But I think to back it on up a couple of levels from that, Ken, is to say that it's really about having defined SOPs, standard operating procedures. And what most people get messed up about standard operating procedures and SOPs is they believe that it's an instruction manual. And now there's a place for instruction manuals, and you should have that. But that's not what an SOP is. An SOP, for the most part, is a sheet or two on who does it, what did they do, and when did they do it? Who, what, and when, not how. And so we get bogged down when we create SOPs on step one, step two. No, that's an instruction manual. An SOP, a standard operating procedure, is who does it, when do they do it, and what is it? Like, that's it. That's what you need. What, who, and when. That's it. And I train my clients in the mastermind, and we do it with our team too, to write those SOPs for every system in your business, whether it's client intake, running a podcast, doing marketing, whatever it is. There needs to be an SOP for it. There needs to be a repository where all those live and everybody can see it. Everybody knows how to get access to it. That way, if somebody quits, dies, gets fired, whatever, you could just hand them the SOP and they say, you're the who, this is the what it is, and this is when it's due. Now, of course, the next question for a new person is going to be, well, how do I do it? They don't know how. Okay, well, that's a separate document. Because once you learn how, you don't need that anymore. Don't clutter the SOP with the crap that you don't really need unless somebody's new. So I think the SOPs are really vitally important.
Yeah, and I love that too, because the other thing is, like you're talking about, and my business is similar, I've got a pretty small team as well. So when someone leaves that does X number of things, it's like, oh crap. But if you don't have those things, the new person comes in and it's like, it would take a bunch of my time, let's say, to train that person, because the person who did it previously may be gone already. There was no overlap. And so now I got to take time away from the key things that I'm doing for the business, let's say, to try to train this person on this thing, as opposed to having those SOPs and these systems in place to where you get a new salesperson, you go, hey, here's how we do our sales, And again, they'll put their own taste, spin on it or whatever. But I think those things are important, and it keeps not only the business viable long term, but it keeps it, in the interim. It causes less chaos involved, for sure. So, Jason, unfortunately we're out of time here, but I really appreciate you coming on. Really love hearing about Exit Without Exiting, the book, and the Exeter Club as well.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.